At least one Randy has resigned from cabinet. Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. Well, finally, after all of these months, after all of these scandals, Randy Boissonnault has resigned from cabinet, or at least he's temporarily stepping aside. And he's doing that, according to the news, to clear his name. At least that's what the statement that came from the PMO's office stated. Now let's go and see what Vassie Capella had to say on CTV News.
Employment Minister and MP for Edmonton, Randy Boissonnault, according to the Prime Minister's spokesperson, have agreed that Mr. Boissonnault, the Prime Minister and Minister Boissonnault have agreed that Mr. Boissonnault will step away from cabinet effective immediately. The statement goes on to say Mr. Boissonnault will focus on clearing the allegations made against him. Minister Jeanette Petitbat-Taylor will temporarily assume responsibility as Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Official Languages, in addition to her role already as Minister of Veterans Affairs. A very, very brief, you can see, statement here from the Prime Minister's office, simply saying that Employment Minister Randy Boissonnault is stepping aside from cabinet effective right now, and that he's going to focus, he says, on clearing the allegations against him. Let me provide some background here, because we have been talking for the past few days about how scrutiny on the minister has really been increasing by the minute. He apologized late last week for what he has characterized as sort of shifting claims where his own heritage is concerned. He has identified as Cree at one point, adopted by a Cree grandmother, as well as Métis. He's used different sort of iterations of that in different instances. And that all came to light over the past few weeks, largely due to reporting by the National Post. He was forced to apologize. The Prime Minister, I'm told, actually just walked into question period right now. This message, this statement announcing Boissonnault's resignation, timed very much so that the Prime Minister, in the Liberals' views, I imagine, would not have to endure tons of questions about why the minister had not yet resigned. In any event, those questions around what Minister Boissonnault had said or hadn't said around his own heritage have just come to a boil. Yesterday, the NDP joined the Conservatives in very specifically calling on the minister to resign. I should say that the minister insists there's no wrongdoing on his part, that he has said that he has confusion over his identity. Like I said, he apologized last week for that confusion in the way that he termed it. But I think it's also important to say that's not the whole story, right? It's not just about how he's presented himself. It's that he was co-owned a company that at one point bid on federal contracts, calling itself Indigenous owned. He claimed that was the work of his business partner. He wasn't aware of it, but that they were able to access certain federal contracts because they labeled themselves as Indigenous owned. That's part and parcel of all of this as well, and sort of adding to the scrutiny and the calls from the opposition for him to resign. Now, just yesterday morning, Ella, the Prime Minister was asked if he was okay with Randy Boissonnault staying in cabinet. He was in Brazil at the G20. He said that he was happy with the work that Minister Boissonnault had done on his files on jobs, on the economy, on the workforce, and on Alberta, which is, of course, he's the only cabinet minister representing Alberta around the table. And then just over 24 hours later now, it sounds like it's a very different story. So we are paying attention as question period gets underway, as ministers come in and out, and really whether the Prime Minister adds anything to this. The minister who will replace him in the interim is Minister Jeanette Petitbat-Taylor, who is currently the Minister of Veterans Affairs. She'll add this to this portfolio. If you're counting at home, in the last month, we're up to 5 ministers now that have departed cabinet, 4 of whom are not seeking re-election. That's why they left. Minister Randy Boissonnault leaving under very different terms, but certainly puts more pressure on the Prime Minister and the people around him to shuffle that cabinet at some point in the future.
Vashi, you mentioned just before that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had been standing by Randy Boissonnault just 24 hours ago, and now there is a huge shift in that. What do you see being the reason for that, and do you think it is to appease the opposition who have been calling for his resignation?
Yeah, those are the really, really important questions, and why we're certainly waiting to hear more specifically from the Prime Minister. And if he gets any questions from the opposition, which I imagine he will, in question period, we'll look for those details. What did change, right? What new information came to light that made the Prime Minister determine that he instead, would not want Randy Boissonnault in cabinet? It sounds like, it's not a forever thing. Like, for example, if he were to clear himself against these allegations, it doesn't say that he wouldn't be allowed back in, and particularly that sentence in the statement where they stipulate Mr. Boissonnault will focus on clearing the allegations made against him leads me to believe that perhaps if he did clear them, he could return. But I think what did happen, I'm not sure it's about appeasing the opposition, but what it is about is, there's politics involved here too, right? Question period was most certainly, and might still be, all about this issue. Yesterday, it was dominated by calls coming from the opposition for Minister Boissonnault to resign. It's not just the Conservatives, it's the NDP as well. The calls weren't just sort of, in the abstract, oh, he should think about this, he should reflect on it. It was very specific, right? We had members of both the NDP and Conservative caucuses standing up in the House of Commons and outside the House of Commons, calling on the minister to resign.
So there you go. Randy Boissonnault is stepping aside as cabinet minister, but he's not resigning from Parliament, which he should. What I find kind of interesting is that 3 members of Parliament were given the boot yesterday after question period. They were just given the boot for the day, but still, it's kind of a big deal. And I think that put pressure on Trudeau to finally act, because people aren't just sitting by and taking it anymore. They're standing up to the government and they're standing up for their principles. And I think that is a big deal. And that is partially why Randy decided to step aside. But that's just my opinion. I'd love to know what you think. Put your comments down below. And while you're at it, please like this video, share with your friends and on social media. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so you never miss another video. I also invite you to join me on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Pacific time for my live stream, where you can join in on the conversation. Finally, I do have a website where you can sign up for the Canadian Firearms Safety Course. I teach these courses on Vancouver Island, so you will have to be on Vancouver Island to take one of these courses from me. Follow the links in the description to my website where you can sign up for one of those courses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.